What it do? You are listening to the Chronic and Shank Variety Conversation Podcast for winners and really cool people. We're two brains from two different countries and zero filters collide in conversations that go wherever the topic takes us.
We're your hosts. I'm Shank.
And I'm Chronic. We have a variety of conversations about the things that we love.
And we love to share it all with you.
So, lighters unite, tune in, and let's get into it, because if you're listening to this, you're already a winner and definitely really cool.
Today's topic is cannabis. All the things that we like about it, all the things that we don't like about it, legality, and other things. If you have any knowledge of those things, comment down below.
Oh, and before we get started, as always, remember to slap that subscribe button like it owes you some money and show the like thumb some love.
So, Chronic, today we are going to be talking about cannabis, the legality of cannabis, our enjoyment of cannabis, and basically some of our knowledge and some of our foundation of knowledge.
Marijuana. Sorry.
That's all right. That's all right. I usually call it cannabis. People can call it marijuana if they want to.
Listen, this song came to my head.
It is. Hey,
it is. You know.
It's one of those things where I'm gonna say that nowadays in the modern context, it has taken on a different permutation than when it started. When it started, the term marijuana, for those out there who aren't in the know, I'll list some of my qualifications before we get into things too deep. But I actually had a cannabis review podcast where we reviewed 125 different strains of cannabis a long time ago, called the Good Buds Podcast. It was a lot of fun to make. And I've been smoking for a really long time, covered a lot of information about cannabis history. And so, like, I've done a lot of research. Like, I'm not just some dude who's been smoking since I was a teenager who, you know, just, I love pot, man, you know, like, even though I do, don't get me wrong, this boy loves him some cheap. Love it. But my qualifications are more than that. I am well read on the topic. I try to be as scientific and as like smart about it as possible so that I can counteract all of those people out there that think stoners are idiots who can't tie their own shoes, right? Because I'm sure, Chronic, as a smoker, you've probably been confused as someone who's less than intelligent just because you choose to imbibe cannabis, right?
Oh, absolutely. I've had legitimately, I've had situations because, I've had attempts at my own businesses and stuff like that where, ultimately I think I was just a little too young to quite figure it out. And that's not really an excuse, but that's mine. And ultimately I don't think that's what I wanted to do. And I think that's what it boiled down to, but that's totally kind of off topic. But I remember whenever I would go and try to sell a job to, sell the job that I was presenting, like pressure washing. I used to do pressure washing. So I would, try to sell a pressure washing job.
Like going out marketing or whatever. Yeah. Like door-to-door sales kind of thing or whatever, like that kind of thing.
Oh yeah. That kind of thing. And, everything went well. I'm a very personable person. So I'm very good at, talking and talking with people and getting to know them and everything like that. But if any kind of hint of anything about that I'm a smoker, or I have smoked, or anything to do with marijuana, I really, really got a complete 180 and shift of how they respected me, how they felt about things, how they really wanted to be it was really difficult after the point of somehow they might have figured out that I smoke. Something might have gave it away sometimes because, I not that I endorse it at all, but I do partake in the nicotine vapes, but that is something that I will be quitting soon.
Smoke, kids.
Yeah,
start smoking. Are you smoking yet? Are you smoking yet?
Family guy, are you smoking yet?
Are you smoking yet?
Down by the river? Oh no, smoke. But yeah. So many times that they would figure it out, and most of the time it's an older audience that would portray with that. And
actually, I want to touch on keep going, but in a second I want to touch on that, but keep going.
And I'm sure you've experienced this. I think anybody who smokes and uses it as like a regular thing, they felt this 180 shift in almost respect of the person that they're talking to. You'll be talking to them, they're talking to you like a normal human being, and then they figure out something, or you talk about it, or they realize that you're supportive of it, and
Yeah.
they're all of a sudden they're like, oh, you're just a burnt out hippie.
Yeah, clutching their
You know what I mean?
pearls like they're
And
like you're gonna
nothing
steal
against
their
burnt out
purse.
hippies. They're some of my favorite people in the
Yeah,
world.
burned out
But
hippies are fucking dope. I've learned
but
some of
like
my best rolling techniques from them.
like you exactly like that. But they're the professionals. I like think like
Yeah.
they're the professionals in that
Yeah.
realm.
Well, they've been
And
in it. They've been in it since it was, since
yeah,
before it was cool,
exactly.
So,
So and yeah, and it's just crazy the vibe change that would happen whenever they
hmm
would realize that I was a smoker or something like that. And
Yep.
that's something I've even noticed about like whenever I would present like the KTV brand and stuff to certain people, they're like, "You're really," and not that the KTV is necessarily built off of that like smoking or anything, but it's a big part of it.
Yeah.
So, and they kind of get the idea when they hear chronic or something like that. They're like, "Oh, what oh, you mean the chronic? You mean the devil's
Yeah.
lettuce? You mean that shit?" Oh, that's a class one drug. It's a similar to the
Satan's toilet
methamphetamines.
paper.
Yeah, man, it's so
Yeah.
many like horrible racist names towards
Yeah. Yeah.
this poor plant.
I
Um,
know. This poor innocent
and
plant.
but yeah, and luckily as time goes on, and not that I don't, unfortunately people as time goes on, you get older and things happen, but and not everybody from that generation is against it. But what I mean
No.
is like regular society is now
Yeah.
more people like us, and it's starting to get more like,
Well, it's
oh, that's
more.
what you do, and
Yeah, I think it's more rooted in like the xenophobia of it. Like we're like it's one of those things where like the fear of others and that kind of thing. Like people who
yeah,
don't smoke weed like seem to have a way bigger problem with people who do smoke weed
right,
than people who smoke weed
right.
have with those who don't. You know what I mean?
It's like
Like,
it's a like because people who don't and never tried it, never even dug into any kind of research on it, they have this widely preconceived notion of what a person who smokes is going to be like.
yeah.
And honestly, my problem with that is the person that like the stereotypical stoner, you're acting like it's like a meth head on a rage. You know what
Mm,
I mean? All he's doing is sitting on his couch eating chips. Why? I
yeah.
mean, that's sure be more
I would
productive,
much
yeah.
rather
But
any
I
day
mean,
of the week.
I'm
I would
like,
much rather any day of the week run into a stoned person walking down the road than a drunk person walking down the road.
oh, 100%,
Any
like
day of the week.
110%.
Any day of the week. Like one, not even like 9 out of 10 times. I'm talking 10 out of 10 times. I would rather run into a stoned person walking down the road than a drunk person
I
walking
mean,
down the
not
road.
to get too personal, because like I try to keep too much personability, like too deep personability out of the podcast. But
Yeah,
I mean, I grew up with an alcoholic father.
yeah.
And you know what I mean? So like that's and I know there's a lot of people who have grown up with alcoholic fathers or
They
alcoholic
probably. I
mother
mean, and
or an
I'm willing to
alcoholic,
bet
you know,
what would you have done to trade that alcoholic for a stoner father? You know what I mean?
if
A
there's
million
one
things. Yeah,
person that says that they would have, I mean, obviously if you really like, if you said, if you gave me the answer that I just wanted a sober one, I can't even argue against that. But you know
that's
what I
fine
mean?
too. That's yeah.
100%. But if you
But if you
say
had to
no,
choose some kind
if
of
you
chemical
choose the
dependency,
alcohol over the marijuana, like you're
yeah.
like, dude, really? Like, are
What?
you not familiar with like the effect? Like,
Yeah.
dude, he would have hugged you. Like, you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah, yeah, bro. He would have been like, like that's cool, Dad. Like
Yeah, like that's cool. He played
yeah,
games with you and stuff.
yeah.
Like that's
But speaking on that older people thing, the older people aspect of things, that's the craziest thing. Because for the buds listening to the podcast at home, I'm Canadian. If you haven't already noticed by this point,
that's where the intro comes from.
that's where
Two
the
different
intro comes
countries
from. Two
because
different
I'm from
countries.
the U.S. of
Yeah,
A.
and I'm certainly not from Russia, even though I'm super pale. Go Ukraine. But basically, I like it's one of those things where I'm Canadian, so and as everybody knows, it is federally legal here in Canada for recreational use as well as all other uses. And so it's one of those things where like the craziest thing I noticed, because I noticed a lot of changes when cannabis became legal, because I don't really talk about my pre-legal days of cannabis and stuff like that because it was like, I call those legacy stories. You know what I mean? Like
Right, right.
I have some legacy stories from before cannabis was legal. That, like, I mean, it's outside of the fucking, like, I'm not gonna get arrested for it or anything like that, but people still are kind of like, you were breaking the law. And
Oh man, like
it's
if
like,
that
dude,
was
just
the
because, and I'll say this right now
honestly
for the,
though, don't
like,
even be too afraid of that. I think personally, because I mean that's
yeah.
where a lot of comedians get
Well, and
their
not only that, but I'm gonna say this like loud for the can like loud enough for the microphone, loud enough for everybody listening at home. Just because it's legal doesn't mean it's right, And just because it's illegal doesn't mean it's wrong. That just means that somebody in power decided it was going to be that way. So, like, there's a lot of laws that shouldn't be laws. There's a lot of people locked up down in the States right now for smoking a plant that should
Yep.
be free and living their lives. And hopefully someday we'll get there. But loud and clear, just because the law says this is bad doesn't mean it's bad. It just means somebody decided it was. And most of the time, when it comes to things like cannabis and that kind of thing, it's because of racism, which we'll touch on that more later. But the craziest thing, the biggest change I noticed in Canada, the wildest thing is before cannabis was legalized, old people were like, man, like weed is the devil, like weed is horrible, like I'd never smoke that shit. That's like the worst thing ever, blah blah blah, and everything else and stuff like that and that kind of thing. And those same people, those same old fuckers who were cranky and who were, and it's, yeah, they're a product of their generation, whatever. There's still people this day and age that feel the same way. But those old people that were like, cannabis is the devil, cannabis is illegal. I see them at the weed store now, buying weed, lined up. Like those old people. Same ones who were like, weed is the worst, weed is the devil. As soon as it was legal, as soon as the legal documents got signed saying, oh, it's legal to buy it or whatever, they started going out and buying it and they started smoking it and everything else just
Yep.
because the government said it's fine. Once the government says it's fine, go nuts. But if everybody else says
Yeah,
it's
and
fine,
I agree.
like,
They became hypocrites
and
about it,
it's like,
and
yeah, and
it's
so like a lot of those older people that like didn't smoke cannabis before or would have never given it a shot because the government said it's the devil and it's the worst and everything else, and had the whole reefer madness thing going on, they wouldn't smoke it if you paid them money before it was legal. But once it became legal, they lined up at the weed stores and they're buying weed. You know what I mean? And so it's like one of those things where, like, when it comes to cannabis and the legality of it, I think first and foremost, it needs to be federally legal in the States. It has to be. It's just the only smart way to do it is to make it federally legal down in the States. The only reason they haven't yet is because there's a lot of people in jail that are there for cannabis related crimes, and they know that it's going to cost them a lot of money to let all of those people out of jail. And they don't want to do that because a lot of free labor comes from jails in America, and they would feel really bad about being like, "Oh, sorry, we locked you up for like, X amount of years of your life over a plant. We're letting you go now." You know what I mean? So they don't
yep.
want to do that because they have to admit that they're wrong. And so it's one of those things where, like, there are, though, thankfully, the times they are changing, and there are a lot of states that are federally legal for recreational use, and a lot of them that are federally legal or not federally legal because it's still federally illegal. But there are a
Yep.
lot of states where it's statewide on state laws and states' rights. Yeah, go states' rights. Um, like where it's legal recreationally in some states and it's legal for medical reasons in all of those states as well as a handful of other states. Actually, it would be easier to list the states where it's not legal because 40 out of 50 states have some form of legality, like where you can consume cannabis in a legal way without worrying about losing your freedom. Basically, the recreational states, I'm going to list them now for any of our listeners out here. If you're from any of these recreational states, let me know. I'm very interested in hearing your opinions down in the comments down below and how happy you are with the fact that your state decided to legalize it. But
And how good is the state doing
so
economically too?
yeah, that'd be great. Give us any information you might have because we're interested in hearing it. But the legal states for recreational, this is very important, recreational use is Alaska, Arizona, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Delaware, Illinois, Maine, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, Missouri, sorry, Mississippi, I want to pronounce it properly, Montana, Nevada, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York, Ohio, Oregon, and Rhode Island. And by the way, shout out New York. Congratulations on your new mayor. I'm very proud of you. Um, but, or at least congratulations on your recent election if you're listening to this when the podcast came out. Very proud of you. You've done very well. But there are other states where it's legal in general. 40 out of the, like I said, 40 out of the 50 states are legal for medical reasons. And of course, that I think that would include all the ones I listed before because it is legal for
Right.
like recreational and medical cannabis. But it's also legal medically um, in Alabama. is also on there. Iowa is also on there. Florida, very important. Florida is also on there. That's near and dear to my homie Chronic down there.
Even though it's not decriminalized yet,
It's
but
yeah, it is legal for medical use. It's not decriminalized yet, but medical use it is decriminalized. And our homie Chronic, for anybody wondering at home, is allowed to smoke it. He does have
I
legal
got my
medical.
med
Yeah,
card.
he has legal medical reasons to smoke it. And if any of you out there doubt it, you can thoroughly fuck yourself. And Georgia as well. So basically, it is legal, and there are a few other states where it's legal by
I
ballot
think
measures.
Georgia was a little tricky. Let me see. I was looking at Georgia myself. One second.
Well,
Um,
Georgia is one second here.
So Georgia's a little strange because it's just CBD oil.
Yeah, yeah,
Yep.
they're allowed CBD, but
Which
they
I
are
mean that is a form, but we all know what
yeah
we're talking about
yeah
here.
we
So
all know we all know. But but basically they are talking though. There are more states that are trying to pass ballots and trying to pass measures and bills and stuff like that to legalize it on a statewide level. I do think it's kind of stupid that even in a federal or even in a state legal place, if like a DEA agent catches you, they can still arrest you and charge you because it's illegal on a federal level. But that's neither here nor there. I think it's one of those things where it is very important for the states. I know especially that Canada was cool when they were like, "Hey, it's federally legal," and the provinces were basically like the federal government was like, "Provinces, you don't get a fucking say in it. Like
right.
we're making it federally legal, and that's the way it is. Like if you want to have your own provincial laws about it, that's fine. If you want to
Yep.
have your own provincial regulations, that's fine. But on a federal level, it is legal." And I know that in the States, it is very important to the states, and especially for state identities and stuff like that. It's like, I think the best way that we described it a long time ago, me and my buddy, when we were talking about cannabis in Canada versus the States, is that Canada is like one person wearing a trench coat, just hanging out,
Yep.
and the States are like 50 people in a trench coat. You know what I mean? Like it's like so legalizing it on a federal level is a lot harder because there are going to be some parts of the, you know, some of the people in the trench coat that are just like absolutely fucking not, and that will stop them on a federal level from being able to legalize it. Um, because if a state says no, I'm not interested, then the federal government can't step in and say, well, you have to make it legal. Like, but like, because the state will still be able to have their own laws saying no, it's not, even if the federal government says it should be legal. It's one of those things where it's hard to balance that. So you do need to win it state by state, which thankfully, like I said, it has been going really well. And state by state, they have been passing laws to legalize it, but there's always going to be a handful of holdouts that are like very, very strongly opposed to cannabis because of the original drug scare down in the United States.
Yep.
That's just weaseled its way into, and because most politicians are old as fuck. Like they're all fucking old, man.
Yep. Yep.
And because they're all old and they're all a product of that generation of like cannabis scare tactics and everything else, we pretty much, I mean, thankfully, I'm surprised that more states have legalized it. As many states as they have legalized it, but like just because of the fact that so many old people are the ones who pass the laws, but they're dying off. So we only
Yeah.
have to wait for so
Yeah.
long,
It'll be
and
a matter of time.
it's only a matter of time. Those old farts that are fucking curmudgeonly and opposed to cannabis will eventually die off and be replaced by other politicians from our era and from other generations younger than them, who will actually put some critical thought into it and go, maybe these laws are stupid. You know, like maybe this is fucking dumb. Well, you know,
Hmm.
we were talking briefly before the podcast started about why it's illegal in the first place down in the States and how fucking stupid the origin of cannabis being illegal was. Because it was legal in the States for a long time, federally. Like it was legal. And it was
Yep.
like, you know, it was fully accepted. It was in medicines that they sold over the counter at like places, you know,
Yep.
like it was just like available freely and openly, and they called it, you know, it was cannabis. They had it. It was the thing. It was sold in America legally for a very long period of time. And then along come some cranky old bastards. Namely, there's one that I'll talk about, one that I know Chronic, you got some talking points on it, but Harry
Hmm.
Anslinger, this motherfucker. Like, if there's any graves that should be have a urinal attached to them, his is one. Because Harry Anslinger, Harry like was known as the first American drug czar. And rumor has it, allegedly, I'll say allegedly because, I don't want to be that guy that says like facts, that says things like they're facts when they may not be facts. But
Right.
allegedly, the reason why he championed making cannabis illegal was because his wife had cheated on him with a Mexican man, allegedly.
Hmm.
And cannabis was heavily associated with the Mexican people, so much so that Anslinger started calling it marijuana rather because that was the Mexican word for cannabis. And he started calling it that to affiliate it more strongly with Mexican people so that he could use racism to help pass his laws. Because he really, really, really wanted to pass these anti-cannabis laws. He really didn't like Mexican people, and he thought, what's the best way to make people hate cannabis? Well, associate it with racism and associate it with this race that I see as a problem. And it's terrible because even to this day, people are still like, "Oh, Mexican people must be They're not. They're people, just like us in
Yep.
Canada and the people in the States, the people in Europe. They're people. There are some assholes there, but I mean, there's assholes literally everywhere. And you can't really say, oh, all of this group of people from this country are all assholes because, like, fuck, dude, like, it's not how it works. They're all people, you know?
Right. And that's where, and so that guy needed a good way to announce and make
Like,
the
disseminate.
enemy. He needed to make it, publicly known that this is a
Yeah,
bad thing.
yeah.
So there's a massive newspaper timber industry owner under the name of William Randolph Hearst, who was also a little on the fearful side of hemp replacing the raw products for timber.
Yep.
And he had a big investment and company in the timber industry in terms of removing timber, growing it, cutting it down, having a sawmill, so on and
Yep.
so forth.
Yeah. Well, I
But
mean, hemp is like a super fucking, like a super
oh yeah,
product.
absolutely.
Yeah. And
They
it's
need
the
to
right
figure
to
out.
be scared of it because it's like, what is it? I think it was like one field of hemp is the equivalent of like an acre of forest.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and that's what scared him because of how like more quick of a production you could have with him. So him and that little feller over there decided to team
Ainslinger.
up. Yes, decided ain't slinging nothing. He he um he decided to get with Mr. William Randolph Hearst because of his newspaper industry and say,
Yep.
hey, what if we go ahead and put out a headline calling "The War on Drugs" and explain why hemp and or marijuana was
Yep.
a very, very evil thing. It
Yeah.
was
And
horrible. It
and
was
also
destructive.
to muddy the waters as well between because like people who know like about plant genealogy, this is actually something I studied when I was doing the other podcast there as well. But with plant genealogy, hemp has no psychoactive effects. It has no you can't smoke it to get high, you can't smoke it to do anything. You might be able to get CBD out of it,
It
but
becomes a legit raw
it is like
material.
literally just a plant like a dandelion. It's got the same psychoactive effects as a dandelion. But what Anslinger and what Hearst did was they muddied the water, right? So basically they
Hmm.
were like, "Oh, well, weed is weed. Marijuana is marijuana. It doesn't matter if it's hemp, it doesn't matter if it's like high grade THC like indica sativa, like it's all marijuana and it's all from those Mexican criminals bringing marijuana into our country." This is a quote, by the way, for anybody that this is not how I feel. But but
No,
but like
that's exactly how Shank
that's
feels. To be
exactly
honest.
how. But so like what they wanted to do is Hearst and Anslinger wanted to muddy the waters and basically make it so that hemp, which is totally different than cannabis, was associated and affiliated with cannabis, and they started calling it all marijuana. It was all of it was dope, all of it was marijuana. They didn't differentiate between cannabis and hemp at all because it benefited Hearst, so his businesses could keep selling timber, and it benefited Anslinger because it would make it so that there would be this fear around anything that even looked or smelled like a weed plant. You know what I mean? Like it
Hmm.
would instill that fear. And it's like, did you know that mustard and kale are the same plant? They're the same plant. Kale like kale, the
Yep.
shit that nobody likes to eat, but it's actually really good in kale chips. If you haven't tried kale chips, fucking go out and grab some when you're really baked and enjoy the shit out of them. You're welcome. But kale, kohlrabi, mustard are all the same plant. They're just grown differently, right? So
Yep.
hemp and cannabis, they're the same plant, air quotes, but they're totally different plants. Like they're
Yep.
totally different. And so like Hearst was like, I don't know, man, I'm losing money to these hemp guys. Like the guys making hemp sacks and hemp cloth and hemp everything, like
Yep.
and
Clothing, everything. Yep.
yeah, everything. And the problem was, do you know who owned a lot of those hemp businesses? Mexican people.
Yep.
Yup. So the xenophobia and that scare factor, like, and they worked actually together. I think Anslinger worked with Hearst to make some of the first Reefer Madness
Hmm.
videos, like the first, like back in the 70s, like the 60s and the 70s. They worked together to make those Reefer Madness movies. Like they were funded by Hearst and other interested political parties to make these like Jimmy smoked weed and then he ate his girlfriend's face. Like, like the dumbest shit, like the dumbest thing. And it's like, and you want to believe that you're like, man, it can't have been that easy that like these like rich assholes made like some stupid videos and made some news articles, and all of a sudden everybody believed that it was like like really this evil
Right.
plant that's going to turn you into a zombie or like make you lose your job or make you sit naked in the street and like drag your butt along the ground like a dog with worms. Like, they made people that like you'd think nobody'd be that stupid to believe it based on that and that alone and everything else. But I mean, people believe AI fucking videos nowadays, bro.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
like like people are stupid. Like, like there are people falling for scams on the phone where they call like people are dumb. Like
Yep.
I think it was George Carlin, rest in peace. But I think it was George Carlin who said that think about half of the people that you run into on a daily basis, and how dumb they are. Like the average dumb that you run into every day, half the people are dumber than that. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yep.
Like if you like the average number of people that you run into that are stupid, half the people are dumber than that. You know what I mean? Like so people will believe anything, especially if a rich politician tells them that. Like I mean, look at all these people that are getting fucked over by Trump who voted for Trump. They're like, I voted for him and now he's canceling the aid to my business, so my business is failing. It's like you think who could have seen that coming? Except literally everybody, like with half a brain. Like we all knew, like like we knew he was gonna do bad shit, and you were like, yeah, but he's not gonna do bad shit to me. So it's like the same people that are like, well, I can vote against cannabis because like. I don't like Mexican people, and it's not like he's gonna come after me for different things. And then like once it became illegal, they were like, "Oh, actually, we're coming for you, fucking Coca-Cola." And then Coca-Cola was like, "What?
Yep.
Like, why would you come after my cocaine? You said you were going for cannabis."
Yep.
And it's like,
Yep.
I feel stupid for funding you now. Well, I'm gonna bite you in the ass, Coca-Cola. Sorry, now you can't have cocaine in your in your beverage.
I know. What a tragedy.
It's a tragedy, man. Can you imagine how much better a Coca-Cola would have been?
You know how
Like
much stuff I would have
I,
got done already? No,
I
I'm
was
just
gonna say,
kidding.
man. I was gonna say, man. I might not be such a huge Pepsi fan now. Like I
Yeah, exactly.
might,
Exactly.
but yeah, and it's like one of those things where like the legality of cannabis, like it comes down to ultimately those laws were passed because of racism. If anybody hears any noise in the background on my side of the recording right now as well, it is because my cat decided now would be a perfect time to play a drum solo on her litter box. So if that's coming through at all, say hi to Mochi, everybody. But
Hello.
basically like it's one of those things where it is heavily rooted in racism, and that's why even I like I won't, like I said, I won't knock somebody for using the term marijuana because it has come to mean like a different thing nowadays. Like it's kind of like stoners have kind of owned the identity, like, and like taken it and been like, even though it was coined from somewhere rooted in racism, from like Anslinger trying his best to like make people associate cannabis use with Mexican people so that he can weaponize racism to pass the laws he wanted to pass. Like marijuana now means something different. Like you say marijuana, marijuana. Like it means something. It was taken by the people who own. But I always try my best to call it cannabis, just because like first of all, it makes you sound smarter. Like when you if you tell somebody like I smoke weed, they're like, oh yeah, cool, like stoner and stuff like that. But if you're like I use cannabis, they're like, oh, all right, this guy's on like a scientific level. You know what I mean? And it gives
Hmm.
that it like kind of prevents that stupid stoner stereotype. Alliteration is all that. Um, but like it gets rid of the stupid stoner stereotype really quickly when you are eloquent in how you speak about cannabis. Like when I talk about cannabis, I don't talk about it like,
And it's
yeah, man.
unfortunate you got to be like that too. You know
And
what I mean? Like
it's true. But I also learned like growing up that like how you present yourself to people, unfortunately, will always be important in how they perceive you. So if you do your best to like kind of be like if you try your best to kind of eloquently get your point across, they can't argue against it and say you're just an idiot or you're just dumb. Like if you use like intelligent words, you choose your arguments wisely and you're very careful about things. Like it makes it harder for them to just discredit you without trying. You know what I mean?
hmm
Like if you're like, man, I love to smoke weed and eat chips and munchies and stuff, bruh, then people are gonna be like, that guy's an idiot. Like even
right,
if you're not, like like even if you're not, people are gonna be like, man, this guy's like, it's like Cheech and Chong, they're smoking dog shit, that kind of thing, right?
right.
And so like they kind of discount your intelligence automatically just based on a preconceived notion that they have of people who smoke cannabis. So like I always try to approach it in a way that I'm like, if you don't smoke it, cool. That's totally cool. I appreciate that. That is the like totally fine. First and foremost, because it's more cannabis for me. And second of all, because I do believe that everybody should have the right to choose what goes on in their own body, goes on in their own body and that kind of thing. At least like make informed decisions for themselves. But I can say that if you've never tried it, you should try it. Like
Right.
there's no harm. There's no harm. If you try it and you don't like it, it's not going to kill you. Once again, the only, another going back to George Carlin because that man was a fucking fountain of wisdom who could swear like a sailor, but he was a fucking fountain of wisdom. He said the only way that cannabis will ever kill you is if a giant bale of it falls on your head.
Yeah, I remember
Like,
that
yeah,
one.
yeah,
Yep.
you might smoke enough that you're like, man, I feel like I'm gonna die, but you won't. Trust me, you won't. There's
Yep.
no way that smoking cannabis will ever kill you because by the time you smoke enough of it to kill you, you'll die from suffocating on the smoke before that. Like you'll never like you can never smoke enough weed to die from it. It's just not something that can happen. And weed
But you can drink
allergies,
yourself to death.
you can very easily drink yourself to death. But and weed allergies are way less common. When people are like, "I'm allergic to weed, I can't smoke it," it's like, no, bro, you smoked too much one time and you got sick and threw up. That's what happened. It's not because you're allergic. Weed allergies are so uncommon. It's
Yeah,
crazy.
that's like a one in a
It's
million, if that
so
thing. You know
uncommon,
what I
bro.
mean?
So if
Like,
someone's like, I'm allergic to weed, chances are they just, the first
had a
time they
bad
smoke.
experience.
Well, what I found is that when I smoke cannabis with people for the first time, I'm careful about it. Like,
Yep.
because I tell them, the first thing I tell them is do not try to keep up with me. If I
Right.
light a joint and I'm smoking on the joint and I'm puffing on the joint, don't go puff for puff. That's like sitting down and going drink for drink with a Russian on vodka. You're
Yeah.
not gonna do it.
100%.
You're
Yeah.
not
You're,
gonna do.
you're gonna you're gonna
You're gonna have a bad time. Yeah, it's not gonna be a good time. And so, like, if it's the first time you're smoking it, try a little bit, have one puff, put it down, don't have another puff. Wait a little bit, have another puff,
all this
put it
talk,
down.
bro.
I know. Lighters unite. But I've got a vape right now, so I'll just. But but basically, actually, hold on if I can do one of these. But it's one of those things where like when you're like when you're smoking for the first time with people, like you gotta like inform them to be careful, be slow, go slow, low and slow, nice and easy. Don't try to keep up with me because you're not going to. It doesn't matter. It's like, like, but also if you do green out, just chill out. Just lay down, go to sleep. When you wake up, you'll feel fine. And like it's one of those things where like that's mostly when people are like, I'm allergic to weed. They aren't allergic to weed. They literally tried it one time and they tried to keep up with the people that they were smoking with, and they got really sick. They greened out because they smoked too much.
Now, I think this is a good little thing to kind of get into real quick. Now, there are people, because I've seen it firsthand. Because let's be honest, now we haven't said this at all through this episode, but we understand also that weed also isn't for everybody. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? Like it's not
Yeah,
a
some people just don't like how it makes them feel.
exactly, and there are people that legitimately like when they smoke, especially with today's cannabis, it's very strong and very potent,
Oh yeah,
and
punchy.
like even the last like 12, 15 years, it's gotten tremendously stronger, and that's a I've seen people firsthand, and then typically happens as people get older. I've noticed too. They have like panic attacks. They like not like you know what I mean, not like the typical like greened out, but like
Yeah.
their
Well,
heart starts racing, and they're and what it is I found out that with some people, cannabis can cause smoking it, not like eating it or something like that. Um, can cause bad acid reflux.
yeah.
And whenever you're high, it makes you kind of trip out a little bit whenever you're
Yeah.
feeling that acid reflux.
Especially if you're not used to it. Like
Right,
especially if you're not used to
right.
like, that kind of thing.
And acid reflux itself can cause anxiety.
Yep.
So like
Yep.
that, and everybody knows that marijuana can typically kind of hypersensify every feeling you have, every emotion,
A little bit, yeah,
and
yeah. And
like
it's
in a
actually funny.
sense.
That's Canada's actually it's funny when we legalized cannabis up here. It's so funny too because I had a buddy who every time he smoked cannabis, he would get like he loved smoking it, but he would get super fucking paranoid. He'd be like, "Man, I can't
Yeah.
fucking go." He'd be like, "I
Yep.
can't fucking go to the store. Like I can't fucking go out. I can't fucking like I can't be around crowds of people like and everything else and stuff like
Yep.
that."
Get very
As,
anxious.
as soon as it was legalized, Bro can go anywhere. Bro can do anything now. He can walk around stores. He can go to fucking crowded places and stuff like that, baked out of his gourd now. No paranoia at all, man. Like none. Like, and it's like because once you like, because a lot of anxiety with cannabis stems from that social aspect of it being bad. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so people smoke it and they're like, man, if I get caught, if I go to the store and someone's like, you smell like weed, like it's gonna be a whole thing. It's gonna be like, and it's not legal or like and I'm gonna have to like it's gonna be a bad like and they get scared so that hyper sensitizes their anxiety and it's
I'm
like
not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. I know exactly what you're doing. I know 100%. I know 100% what you're talking about. Here's the thing, though. You know how like there's people that are like natural stoners. I'd say like like people that are just like part like it just clicks with them better.
yeah
Like
yeah
you and myself,
yeah
um, and most people that we surround ourselves with. And
very true.
so like it just we don't green out. We don't like it's just
Oh, I
it's
did a few
very.
times when I first started smoking. When I first
I
started
never
smoking,
did. I've never actually like
oh
experienced a
yeah.
genuine green out. Like that's like
My first green out was after a show I performed when I was younger. I smoked, I think it was like 3 or 4 joints with a couple buddies of mine and a band that we had met that night. And it was really strong stuff that I had. And at that point, I hadn't smoked like super strong stuff. And I certainly hadn't smoked that much of it in one sitting. But man, I will tell you, I greened out. I got so sick and I like threw up and everything. I felt like shit. I was laying there. Like I was like literally like laying there almost unable to move. Like I thought, like everyone does, that I was dying, that kind of thing. And it was before I even knew about the fact that you can't die from cannabis and everything, that kind of thing. And like so I was fucking freaking though, bro. Like freaking out. And like it's like I know that it like if you experience that, some people the first time they experience that is the last time they're experiencing it. You know
yep.
what I mean? They're like if I smoke weed once and I have that anxiety or I have that paranoia or I have that green out or anything else, that's it. I'm done. I'm never trying it again. Like it's like the first time that I drank Canadian Club whiskey and I got so fucking drunk that I couldn't even move. And now I can't even smell Canadian Club whiskey without.
That's ever clear for me.
Yeah. Oh,
Oh
Everclear,
my
man. That's
god.
just bad. That's just bad in general. You go
That was
blind from
just
that shit.
rubbing alcohol.
Yeah, you might
That
as well be.
was
Yeah, might as well be. Like you are your farts are flammable after that shit. But like,
no, my body was on fire on the
Yeah.
inside. Like I was
Yeah.
running kerosene, dude. I
Yeah,
could have.
and you're burning up. And so that's the thing is like it's like having that kind of bad experience or that stressful negative experience sometimes once is enough for most people. For me, like I'm
It's
call
called
me
a traumatic event
yeah,
in a
call
sense.
me
You know
like
what I mean? Like,
call me stupid, call me passionate about cannabis, call me what you will, but that one experience of greening out like wasn't enough for me to like give up on it. And at the point I'm at now, I don't think if you put all the weed in front of me, like all the weed, I feel like I could just smoke and smoke and smoke and smoke
it,
and smoke, and I don't know, I'll never green it.
right,
Like, it
right.
won't
Like
happen.
at this point now.
Yeah.
And I was gonna say too, I think in your situation, there's a lot of people that experience that same thing where they like when they first smoked, or a lot of people I hear they'll be like, the first time I smoked, I didn't feel it. And then the second time I got way too high. And like that's very common.
Yep. Because
And
the first time they were cautious, so they didn't smoke enough, and
or
the
they didn't know
second,
how to, or like you
or
know what I
yeah, or
mean?
they were just
Yeah.
doing the mouth tokes,
Yep.
and then the second time they smoked it, and they were like, the first time I didn't feel anything, so I'm
So
gonna
they try
do
to go a little bit,
extra.
indulge a little bit
Yeah,
more. Yep, yep.
yeah. So I'm gonna do
And
more, and then they green out.
and here's the thing too. I think what it is a lot of people who experience that, like yourself, they do end up like it's very few people that are like, oh, never again. You know what I mean? A lot
Yeah.
of people are like, you know what, maybe because what it is before they got to that point, they were feeling awesome. They were
Yeah.
laughing, they were having a great time,
Yeah.
and then all they had to understand was somebody telling them was like, you just did a little too much. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like next
Yeah.
time, just like take it slow. Like
And that's
you
why when
know,
I smoke with people for the first time, that's what I suggest is low
yep,
and slow, right? Don't try to keep up with me. Just have a puff, put it down, wait for a little while. Usually what I say is like if I light it, I'll smoke a joint with somebody because that's the easiest way to do it for the first time. Because packing a bowl is like good enough. But basically, when you're smoking a joint with somebody, you can take a puff and then put it out and then wait, and then take a puff and then put it out and then wait. And when you do that, it like doesn't hit you all at once and hit you super fucking hard. Like it makes it so that you take that puff, wait, and I tell them take a puff, wait for 5 minutes, give it 5 minutes. If you don't feel anything after 5 minutes, or you feel all right after 5 minutes and you want to take another puff, take another puff.
exactly.
And then they
Or
do
even
that.
honestly, I even suggest a little bit longer because we haven't even got into. We could definitely make more episodes about this for sure.
Oh, for sure.
Um,
Yeah.
and I think our next episode will probably not our next episode as in episode 5, but the next time we talk about cannabis, we're probably gonna get it a little bit into like the different strains and what they can do
Yeah.
for you and why they do things. And that's the thing too. It's always good for your first time. This is where I was bringing that up
Yep.
to be with an experienced owner because they know what you're smoking
Yeah.
and they know that like for instance like in a hybrid or not a hybrid a sativa kind of can hit you quicker, like you feel it right in your head, you're like, whoa, I feel a little different, you know what I mean?
Yep.
It's an indica is one of those that you smoke and you're like, I feel a little bit, and then you sit down and you're like, whoa,
Yeah. More of a
you know what I
creeper
mean?
strain. Yeah.
Right.
Well,
And
it's
then
usually
like
the way that we used to describe it is like indica is in the couch. So if you're
yep,
sitting down, you're smoking, you're not going to want to get up.
shout out to Disjointed Show.
Yes, shout out.
Yep.
And sativas are better. It's a sativas to get shit done. Indicas when you don't feel like doing shit. You
Yep.
know what I mean? And there are hybrids that are more sativa leaning, more indica leaning, that kind of thing.
I will give a notice that most hybrids are sativa dominant.
Yeah,
Most of them.
yeah. Actually, fun fact, I
Or is it
actually have.
indica dominant? I
I was
can't
gonna say
remember.
I have one right now. Hold on, which one is it? It's a moonberry. This one right here, moonberry, is actually an indica dominant hybrid. It's really
I
good.
think it actually is more indica
Yeah, it's
dominant
an
than
indica
hybrids.
dominant, but it's really funny actually when we do that future episode. The fun thing, like I was saying, mentioning earlier in the podcast, I used to have the other podcast that I did called the Good Buds podcast, which is no longer going now. This is the only podcast. Listen to this one, or you're not a winner and really cool person.
Exactly.
But on that other podcast, we have a document that we made for the episodes because we did 75 total review episodes. We did 95 episodes of the show, but we did 75 review episodes. And in those 75 review episodes, me and my former co-host Curtis, we smoked between the two of us, we each smoked one strain per episode, so that's 75 different strains for each person on the podcast. And that ranges the whole gamut from indicas, sativas, and all hybrids in between. And we have a document called the strains log, which I still have access to, and it
Mm-hmm.
has literally every single full review of every single strain that we smoked on the podcast. And it's like so useful to have that repository of knowledge so that if I get a strain and I'm like, have I smoked this before? Or has Curtis smoked this before? I can go on that strain log, look at the episode list, look at the names of the cannabis that we've smoked, and find out, not only like how it tastes, but how it affects us, how it makes us feel, things that it reminds us of, and like basically how the episode went. You know what I mean? Because we would always smoke during the episode on the show on that show. For the record, I smoke on the show as well. It's just not the topic of the show. So yeah,
No.
like I mean, like I'm being
No
yeah,
fucking
this entire time,
way.
cannabis is being imbibed, like the whole time. But it's not the topic
He
of our, yeah,
legitimately has a doobie
yeah,
lit.
pretty much all the time. But basically, it's one of those things where we, like, when it comes to cannabis, like, that's why people love, like, smoking with me for the first time, and probably with you as well, because you've been smoking for so long,
I'm
you
a
know a lot
great
about it.
babysitter. I'm a
And yeah,
great
and it's
babysitter.
like we're like good ganja gurus. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like we're really good ganja
Good,
gurus.
good, good ganja gurus. Let's see. That's
Yeah.
GGG. Triple G.
Triple G's, but we're good ganja gurus with some sweet stoner sensibilities. And we basically not only do we alliterate well, but we also retain knowledge about things that we've smoked and stuff like that. And we also
Mhm.
know about, like tips and tricks for people to consume cannabis for the first time in a safe way.
Yep.
But if you're out there and you're listening to the show right now and you haven't tried cannabis, comment down below, let us know. If you've never been interested, you've never had the opportunity, whatever it is, whatever your reasoning, let us know.
Or if
But
you have any compelling
but if you
arguments against all the things that we've said, we love to read those and kind of see,
yeah,
like,
like
yeah,
I discourse is
just to,
good.
just to throw a little bit of a goofiness in there,
Yeah,
let's
just
see let's
know,
see what
yeah,
people think do.
yeah, just know now that you're wrong, but feel free to tell us how wrong you are. But if you and that's the thing too is if you don't smoke cannabis for a personal reason or whatever because you don't enjoy it or whatever, that's totally fine. Go nuts. Just don't no moral arguments. Don't use any moral arguments because like I've never seen somebody do something like while they're high on weed that they wouldn't have done sober. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
people treat like they
Exactly.
treat they're like, like it's one of those things where they're like, "Oh, if you're smoking weed and your inhibitions are gone, you're gonna do like what's gonna stop you from robbing a bank or robbing." It's like, dude, if you're in a situation or position where you're gonna rob a bank, smoking weed isn't gonna like speed you up or slow you down. You know what I mean? Like if you're already gonna do the bad thing, cannabis
You're
isn't
gonna
gonna
do
make
the
you
bad
do it.
thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
cannabis isn't gonna make you do
it's
it.
you that's gonna
Yeah,
do the
like
bad thing.
and so like morally, you can't be like people who smoke cannabis are immoral or whatever because I like to think that I'm pretty moral as far as people go. I'm
Right.
I'm a friend to humanity. I support and love like all people who aren't assholes. So, and there's even a few assholes that I love. So I can't even say, like I don't like, but it's one of those things where like you can't use a moral argument to say why cannabis smoking is wrong because like there's no moral reason against it. But I mean, if you're like, I just don't like the way it makes me feel, cool. That's justified. That's totally good. That's like, don't smoke it.
Again, like we said,
Yeah.
it's not for everybody, and
Hmm.
honestly, it's not for a lot of people,
Yeah.
and we understand that,
And that's totally
and
fine. That's totally
yeah,
fine. But like, don't get mad if I show up smelling like weed. You know, like it's like I won't get mad if you show up smelling like whiskey,
or
as long as
cigarettes.
or cigarettes, as long as you're not an asshole.
Yep.
Like, like, and I'll never like I'm not one of those people that I'm gonna be like light up a joint in the middle of a store and blow it in people's faces because that would
Right. You don't do that with cigarettes. You
yeah,
don't.
I
It's
wouldn't
called
spit.
public indecency. You
Yeah,
know
I
what I
wouldn't
mean? Like
like it's. I do that in the same way I wouldn't spit on people.
right.
Like it's like I'm just not gonna do
And
it.
let's be honest. I know you're in agreement with this 100%. Whenever you're a stoner and you're in public and you want to smoke, you always want to go to like the most peaceful place, and typically that's where nobody's around
You're
because people are chaotic,
yeah,
and
people
you're
suck.
not looking for that. So you get with your buddies, you get with your significant other, you go to the beach, you walk down to where there's nobody. Not
Yeah.
because you don't want to be caught, just because you don't want to be bothered. You don't
Yeah,
want to
just
be looked
and
at.
yeah, and you don't want to put it on other people, you know? It's like how
Right.
you and your cousin go it's like
there
how
is
you and your cousin go for walks at Thanksgiving. You know what I
right.
mean?
Exactly. It's like there's things about marijuana that I think people look past, and it's a very ritualistic, but I was trying to find a better term.
No, that's a good term. That's a good term.
Yeah, I guess that is a
There
yeah,
is a little
yeah.
bit of ritualism when it comes to cannabis smoking and stuff like that.
Like
I mean,
especially
like
if you're people like you and myself that
yeah.
like like we are very like we like the community, we like
Mm-hmm.
what it's about, we like the products that come with it,
Mm-hmm.
we like that's probably my favorite part about cannabis is the different ways to smoke it. Like that's and like
Yeah.
in terms of like either rolling it up in a
Like
tobacco wrap or
I'm a joint guy myself, but I know that like they're like I have like several different smoking devices because and it's the same reason why people have different guns. You know what I mean? Like, and this will help for our American audience. You know, you don't need a shotgun and a rifle and a pistol and like four varieties of each one, but it's fun to have
you don't
them.
need the Coast Guard armory in your house,
Yeah, but
but
it's
it's
fun to
cool.
have it. Like it's fun. Like, you know, especially when you're going plinking or you're doing, you know, you're going out and you're just going to the
It's
range or
no
whatever you're
different than
going.
somebody spending $600 on a bottle of whiskey because it's
Yeah.
that brand's whiskey,
Yeah, and it's like an old whiskey from fucking some pirate's asshole.
wine,
Like that. Yeah, like
like
you know, like you're digging up old Spanish wine from a shipwreck and spending $1 million. Like it's cool. Like I mean, it's like just owning it is neat.
us as humans, we buy the most ridiculous stuff.
We
So,
do. And
like
it's and smoking devices are one of those things.
like somebody who argues against that, if you're a car person, all you need and I'm a vehicle person myself, by the
Yeah.
way. There is talks of another podcast with Slate. You guys will be introduced to him
Yes.
eventually because he'll definitely be a guest on here. Um,
Keep that in your mind and comment down below if you would like to see that kind of content. We'd like to hear from you.
oh, for sure, for sure. And we're gonna be
It's
in works
happening
of
either
a
way. It's happening either way, but just
right,
comment
exactly.
anyway.
We like to see what your thoughts are.
Yeah.
So we're definitely gonna be getting together with a nice little like garage talk theme podcast. So my point is we're definitely car people,
Yeah.
and I can tell
I'll
you
most
straight
likely
up
sit that one out because I'm not a car dude, but
that all I
I'll
need
listen to it.
is a car that can fit both of or not, just all of my family,
Yeah.
and then maybe a little bit more. So like, a minivan
Yeah.
or an
I mean,
SUV
realistically,
or
you can make buy with a four-door Geo Metro. Like realistically, but it's nice to have a different car. You know?
right. And in this case, like when it comes to a family, obviously it is in this chaotic world kind of necessary to have a strong vehicle per se, a safe vehicle. So I get where people are like, okay, I see where you spent the money on that. That makes sense in terms of a car guy. But what you don't need is the turbochargers, the superchargers, the
Crazy sound systems,
the sound systems, the
the
amazing infotainment,
aftermarket body parts.
exhaust system and an insane infotainment system. You don't need all that, but
Yeah.
you like it. You
It's
like
nice
it.
to
You want
have.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. And especially
And
if you've got the disposable income to buy it, like cool. You know what I
right,
mean? Like cool.
exactly.
Like go nuts.
Yeah,
Like
put
that's what you
yourself in
should do.
debt. We never encourage that. Unless you
Yeah.
just want to give us your money. But I'm
Like
just
yeah.
kidding, just kidding, just kidding,
No,
just
I'm
kidding.
not kidding. Give us your money.
Give me your money.
Give us your money.
that Family Guy skit wherever he's with the violin, he's like, "Give me money, give 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 me
Give
money."
me money, give me money, give me money. But and yeah, like don't put yourself into debt. But like if you like to have a collect, like and actually this is a great thing because glass, like cannabis glass, is like one of my favorite things in the world. Like I actually a long time ago, way back in the day, there used to be a business here in Nova Scotia where I live, beautiful Nova Scotia. If you're wondering, I'm slowly getting closer and closer to doxing where I live, so you buds can show up at my house when I get famous. But there's this company and it was called Scotia Glass. And what they were known for is glass blowing. They would do hand blown glass, but it was like fancy as fuck. We're talking like decanters and like glassware and like china and like really fancy glasswork, right?
Hmm.
And I applied there for a job because I wanted to learn how to blow glass so I could make my own glass bongs and pipes and that kind of thing.
All that kind of
Like
stuff. Yep.
like I wanted to be able to do that. And so I applied there for a job and I didn't hear back from them, didn't hear back from them, and I moved away from the city that it was in. I moved away because I had to, because I was in a rough financial spot and I literally had no other choice. I had to move away from there. So I moved away 2 weeks after I got settled in at the new place that I was in, like outside of the city, far enough away that it wasn't feasible, they called me up and asked me if I wanted to come in for an interview. And I was like, motherfucker. I was like, if they had called me 3 weeks ago, I probably wouldn't have left the city. I would have found a way to fucking stay with friends or whatever for a
Yeah,
few weeks
yeah, that's some bullshit right
until I got my
there.
paycheck in, and then I would have fucking used my pay to like get a new place.
That's some bullshit.
And like, but like, it's because I love like glassware and cannabis because there's so many different cool bong designs and pipe designs and like the artistry in it is amazing. Like it's almost like how people collect Funko Pops or how people collect like Hot Wheels cars or how they collect guns or anything like that. There's so much variety in that space and artistry. Like I look at like some firearms and I'm a Canadian, so people might not think I think this way because it is a common misconception that Canadians don't like guns. But I look at some guns, like some really like nice looking like some guns, and I'm like, that is a work of fucking art.
Oh yeah.
Like so like the people who designed and built that, like it is like clearly like not only the thought went into the functionality of it.
1911. But anyways,
1911. I am a fan of the 2011s, but 1911's fucking dope. That gun is like peak. Like, but for me, like I love the old Colt revolvers, like the
yeah,
Peacemaker. Like
yep.
those, like you look at guns like that, and you're like, not only did the person design this so that it functions really well and it does its job as a firearm really well, but they made it look really good. And I think that's something. If you're listening right now down in America, bring that back. Bring back engraving your guns. Bring back gilding and gold plating and silver plating your guns. Bring it back. Like this whole black tactical thing, it's not going to matter in the end. Like if a civil war breaks out, they're not going to care if you're shooting at them with a black tactical AR or a fucking engraved blinged out one, right? So you
Oh
might as
man,
well.
yeah, you just prestige your gun. You see the
Yeah, so
prestige.
that's what I'm saying. So, like that's what I'm saying. Prestige that shit, yo. Like fucking bring back the artistry in guns because I think that they stopped at some point. They stopped engraving guns. They
I got the
stopped
gold
doing.
camo.
Yeah, they stopped doing like the cool engraving. They stopped doing the mother of pearl hilts, like or handles and everything else. They stopped doing all that and went tactical. Stop it. Stop it. It looks better when it's gold plated. If anybody says a gold plated deagle doesn't look as good as a black tactical deagle, you are wrong, objectively. A gold plated deagle is always cooler.
You
It's
sound like
always
Deadpool from
cooler.
Deadpool 3.
It's always cooler. It's
It's
always cool.
always
I'm sorry. It's always cooler. Like you can't, nobody can argue.
sorry,
Yeah, I'm
sorry.
as a Canadian, I'm saying sorry here, but it's always cooler. Like, and so like when it comes to bongs, like you can have a utilitarian bong that's just a tube with a bowl that you can smoke out of, and that's dope. That's cool. But you can also have a dope glass with a flared base and a flared mouthpiece and like dimples for an ice catcher on it and shit like that and everything else.
Hmm.
And like with a percolator in it and like all kinds of cool like scientific-y looking like Breaking Bad shit. Like, like like you can have that cool glasswork, you know what I
Got
mean?
them dang
Yeah,
Baker
yeah, them
bombs.
goddamn Baker bombs. And so and that's yeah, like that, like exactly like the one that yeah, when you buds at home can say it
Breaking
like
Bad logo shows up as I bring
yeah,
it across.
bang, bang, bang. But but like, and it's one of those things where like there's so many like up on my shelf right now. If I look over to my left, I have a bong that's literally like another thing that the podcast listeners might know. I have two rabbits. I have two rabbits. They're Kevin and Yoshi, and they are amazing bunnies. I love bunnies. I am a rabbit fanatic, and I have a bong that's shaped like a rabbit. It's a glass pipe. It's a water pipe. Technically what you'd classify as a bubbler, even though it has a removable bowl, which should classify it more in the bong category. It's technically a bubbler, but it's glass. It's frosted glass, and it's shaped like a bunny, and it's fucking awesome.
Yep.
Like it's
Yep.
fucking awesome. And it's like I can have a bong that's shaped like a bunny. I can have a bong that has my favorite fucking cartoon character on it. I can have like and it's cool because you can kind of like accessorize your cannabis usage and like that whole ritualistic thing we were talking about earlier is like you can have like your favorite bong and like that you know exactly how much weed you've got to pack in the bowl, exactly how you've got to light it, when to pull out the bowl, like how to get the perfect hit out of that device because it's a ritualized thing, it becomes part
Yep.
of your cannabis experience.
Yep. That's one of the
It,
best parts about smoking cannabis
yeah.
is getting ready to smoke cannabis.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. The
Like
mise en
sometimes
mise en
whenever
place.
you just want to smoke and you come out and you got to grind some up, you're like, fine.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, oh man, like I wish I already had some busted. But that's why, and again, there's another cool thing about it is like the other accessories, like you can get different grinders, you can get different, so like it is a whole like I guess it's an entire like there's a culture around it, you know what I mean? And it's like when people dismiss it as just like stupid stoner like bullshit or like that kind of thing, or they're like, oh, you're just gonna smoke the devil's lettuce or whatever. They don't stop to think for a minute that there's like an entire culture that's built up around it that has
Hmm.
nothing to do with like the hatred or the vitriol that they want it to be. Like they want it to be a bunch of criminals and they want it to be a bunch of people who are stealing things and that are addicted and that are habitual users who are going to like get themselves into a bad position or put other people in a bad position because of their cannabis use. And they want to believe that, so that's what they project onto that group of people. But from my experience, and like knowing a lot, like you said, a lot of the people that we hang out with smoke cannabis or are at least tangentially involved with it. They're good people, man. Like, they're some of the like best people I know out there. Like I know people, especially in Canada now that it's recreationally illegal, that you would never imagine that they're stoners, that they smoke weed and that they're like people that go home and light up a joint. But it's as common, if not more common, in Canada now, at least since it's legal. But it's as common as going home after like when people are saying, "Oh man, I can't wait to get home and crack open a cold beer."
Hmm.
There are people that are like, "Man, I can't wait to get home and light up a good spliff." Like I can't
Yep.
wait to get home and light up a good joint.
And I do feel like I kind of fall into that category of people that don't look like that they smoke, and then you realize and you're like, whoa, like you smoke, and I'm like, yeah, quite a bit actually, or at least to the degree that I do smoke. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm
Because
not surprised you're one of those friggin' hippy dippy actors.
I tell you what, boy, I tell you, it's like why do I keep referencing Family Guy? It's an excellent show. We should
This
get we
Family
should
Guy's
get
great.
we
We'll do a
should we
Family Guy episode
Yeah, hell yeah, hell
for
yeah.
sure.
The Seth MacFarlane animation episode, that'd be great.
Yeah,
Because that's
not
my
just
favorite
animation.
part.
We'll just do a Seth MacFarlane episode. We'll just
He's awesome. That's one of my favorite
fucking
ones ever.
hilarious.
Um, but let's get him as a guest, anyways. That'd be
If you're listening
amazing.
right now, either
You
Seth
gotta get
Rogen
in,
or
bro.
Seth MacFarlane, if you guys are listening, I've watched An American Pickle 300 times. Just like, come on.
That was pretty. That was pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. That one
Uh,
threw me. That one threw me for a loop. Anyways, we're getting off
yeah,
topic here.
yeah,
Um. Oh man,
yeah.
I actually forgot what I was gonna
We
say.
were saying Seth MacFarlane on Family Guy.
Yeah, Family Guy. I was gonna reference something from Family Guy. What was it?
We were talking about just before that. We were talking about the fact that people like to crack open
Right,
a
right.
cold one at the end of the day, and
Oh
you
man,
don't look like you
that's
smoke.
one of the faults of marijuana. Sometimes
Yeah.
is short-term memory with
Well,
some
I was
stuff.
literally
Like,
gonna say I joke. It's true too. Like that's the thing is that short-term memory loss is something that happens with cannabis. It does. It happens. Like
just a side effect of it. But I mean, to be fair, so does every single thing that you use, except for like nicotine or something, because
yeah,
nicotine's a silent killer. So
yeah, yeah.
not
But
that
it's funny because I
everybody
even
kills, but you get where I
yeah.
was getting at.
Well, I even worked that into the intro of my podcast, or not my podcast, but my Twitch streams. Whenever I do my Twitch streams, my intro is literally, "Hey, it's your boy who's not insert thing that I'm not."
Yep,
Coming at you live from Twitch. And then I say, if it's your first time here, my name is Shank. If it's not your first time here, my name is Shank. I have short-term memory problems.
yep,
Like, and so, like, I work it right into the intro of my Twitch streams, right?
yep.
So, like, it's one of those things where, like, like we do forget. It's like, well, it's the same as that can happen to anybody when you like walk into a room and forget why you walked in there. But with cannabis, definitely doesn't help.
Yeah, because you'll be like on your way to that room, you'll be like kind of like taking mental notice of everything that you're passing. You're like,
Yeah,
I could do, or you're in your head, you're thinking of certain things and ideas and different,
yeah.
because definitely one thing I love about marijuana for me is it definitely sparks a little bit of a creative side for
Oh
me.
yeah.
And I know a lot of people say that, but I think that a lot of the product that people think that was creative whenever they were high and they realize they get sober, they're like, wait, this is garbage. Like
Yeah.
it's because it gets you
Yeah.
motivated to be like, which is still great because it
Well, and
activates that part of your brain.
you're more willing to like at least humor the creativity. You know what I
Right,
mean?
exactly. Yep.
Yeah, because
Yep.
when you're fully sober, like a lot of the time you like there's a lot of that self-doubt and a lot of that like, like there's a lot of like impetus on getting it right the first time. And when you're high on cannabis, it's
You're
not
like
there.
Jonah Hill, and 21 Jump Street. Whenever he ran in to do the play, he was like, "I've got a crow, oh, I've
Yeah.
got a crow." Like that's, I mean, obviously he was on what was it? What did they call that drug in that one?
Flush? No.
Because I know the second movie it was Wi-Fi, but I
Like
can't remember what the
Blizz?
first one.
No.
No, I can't remember. I
Oh
we'll
man,
get
I don't
we'll get
even.
to that, um, but yeah, that's, and then some people would do the polar opposite. It'll make them like shake at the knees at the thought of getting in front of somebody, but again, that might stem from the fact that it might be bad, but sometimes it does make people more like, I want to be, you know, I don't want to see that. That does not sound fun to me at all. Um, but yeah, that's
Oh,
short
it's
term
called
memory is a little problem.
it was called HSF.
HSF.
But I think but I
Hyphy?
high fi yeah high but what it was is it was apparently it tasted like Cool Ranch Doritos. I remember that.
That was in the first or second one.
The first one, I think.
Let me see. Let me see.
I think so. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it was HFS. Yeah, it was called Holy Fucking Shit. That's what it was called.
Yeah. Holy
Yep.
fucking shit, yeah. And yeah, and it tasted like Cool Ranch Doritos because it was the gym teacher who was selling it and he always was eating Cool Ranch Doritos.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah. I remember that. That's what I remember. The Doritos, the drug name I had to Google. The fact that it tasted and smelled like Doritos, I didn't even have to look that up because I knew that.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
because my man doesn't forget snacks.
He's like, put your tongue in your mouth. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't stick your
Yeah.
tongue out at me. He's like, you too. Actually, that's pretty good.
Yeah, actually, that's pretty good. Yeah, no, man, that movie was dope. That movie was fantastic. But yeah, man, like, so it's one of those things where like cannabis is obviously very near and dear to our hearts. It's like we both use it. You medically, me recreationally. And even though it does help me with several medical things, I don't ever claim to be a medical user. I've been a member of MUM, which is Maritimers Unite for Medical Marijuana, since before it was legalized federally on a recreational level. But it's one of those things where um, we both are advocates. We're both big fans of it. And we also, like, but we do want the buds at home and all of our fans to know at home and anybody listening to the podcast right now, we don't care if you do or you don't smoke. We just care if you come here and have a good time, enjoy hanging out with us. If this episode wasn't your cup of tea, that's totally fine. We're going to be
Not a
covering
problem at all. Not a problem at all.
we are the variety conversation podcast for winners and really cool people. So we have a lot of variety of conversations, and cannabis won't be the main topic of like our
Not by
episodes
any
going
means.
forward.
Not by any means.
But we will be
It's not going
having,
to be our logo. We'll put it that way.
yeah, but we will be talking about it in the future in passing here and there, and obviously you'll know in your heart of hearts that I am doing cannabis the entire time. But
100%.
100%. But but it's one of those things where if you have any suggestions or anything like that for topics that we should cover in the future, anything else, we will definitely love to hear from any of you. Give us suggestions down below in the comments because it just helps us to know that you're listening to this episode, and it helps us to know that you're interested in seeing what we have, what topics we'll cover in the future.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, because
Absolutely.
it's just good to know. It's good to
Yep.
know. We are interested. We're not just as much as we're interested in you hearing our voices, we're interested in hearing your voice.
Absolutely. That's why we love. One of the main reasons why we love streaming. You know, we get to interact with our audience live. It's amazing.
Oh, my baby kitty has come to say hello. Hello. Say hi to the podcast, Momo. Say hello, podcast. Hello.
It's a big kitty.
She's my fluffy little baby. Good girl. Go over there now. I love you. But that's my fluffy little baby. She's such a good girl. But we will probably do an episode in the future as well about pets. I think that would be a really good topic to cover.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, no. But frankly, this is I think this has been really good. I think it's probably a good time to wrap up this episode.
Yep.
But like I said before, please comment down below. Let us know if you have any episodes for future podcasts or anything like that. Let us know if this one taught you anything you didn't know, or if it made you feel like sharing any of your experiences with cannabis. Share them with us. Let us know down below.
Yep, please.
Comment where you can.
Get a part of the conversation. We love it. We absolutely love it.
Yeah.
And so I'm gonna let you do a little bit of monologue, and in that process, I'm gonna hit this thing so I can kind of have a little bit of a bong sound effect as we roll into the outro.
That sounds beautiful to me, man. So all of you buds at home, I appreciate every single one of you. You are absolutely fantastic. You are absolutely beautiful. That bowl that Chronic is burning right now is dedicated to all you fans out there who are burning some with us during this episode. And if any of you don't feel like smoking or aren't interested in smoking, that right there was us taking some for you so that you don't have to. So that's it for today's episode. Share your opinions on the topic in the comments section down below so we know how you feel about things, or suggest ideas for future episodes.
Also, you can check out our social medias on X, Instagram, Threads, and more in the description below.
If you're watching now or listening on YouTube, make sure to like, subscribe, and comment because it helps us fight the algorithm overlords.
Thank you all for hanging out with us today, and we'll see you next time on the Chronic and Shank Variety Conversation Podcast.
For winners and really cool people.